Alright, so before we do our exponent rules, we're just going to go back to a couple things that we reviewed at the beginning of the semester, and those are just the definitions. So we'll do definitions and evaluation in the first video, and then we'll do multiplication and division, and then powers in the second and third, and the final video will be applications. Okay, so if we have b to the n, that's just b times b times b times b times b times b, n times. b is called the base, n is called the exponent. So for example, if I have 7 to the 4th, that's just 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. Let's look at some examples. These are examples very similar to what we did the first couple of lectures of class. 1/2 to the 3rd power, that's just 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. The 3 tells me that I do it 3 times. When I multiply fractions, I multiply straight across. So I have 1 times 1 times 1 on the top, and 2 times 2 times 2 on the bottom. Okay, the next problem is very similar, but it's not quite the same thing. The answer is the same, but it's a little different in the middle part. So I keep the 1 on top, 2 to the 3rd. That's 2 times 2 times 2, which still gives me 1/8. Let's look at the next pair. 3/10 squared. Well, something squared, you would just multiply it by itself, so it's 3/10 times 3/10. Multiplying fractions, we do it straight across. 3 times 3 on the top, 10 times 10 on the bottom, so we have 9/100. Now 3/10 is really the same thing as 0.3. So hopefully we'll end up with the same answer. 0.3 squared is 0.3 times 0.3. And 0.3 times 0.3 is 0.09, which is 9/100. Same thing either way. Now for these next two, these just help us remember our order of operations. So remember, I'll do parentheses or any grouping mechanism, and then exponents, then multiplication and division, then addition and subtraction. So my exponents first. 6 squared is 36. 3 cubed is 27. Note that I'm taking 3 cubed, not negative 3 cubed. If I've got a sign on there and it's not in parentheses, then I just apply the exponent to the number. I leave that sign out in front. Now 36 minus 27 is 9. Okay, next one, exponents first. So my 3 squared is 9. My 2 cubed is 8. Okay, now I'll do my multiplications. 2 times 9 is 18. 4 times 8 is 32. Finally, I'll do my addition. 18 plus 32 is 50. So those are just a few examples similar to what we did at the beginning of class, just to kind of get our brains thinking about exponents again. We'll do a few more, again, similar to what we did at the beginning of class. Okay, first thing is just to remember to be careful with the negative signs. If that negative sign is inside parentheses, for instance, negative 3 squared, then it's negative 3 times negative 3. So I'll get positive 9. If that negative is not in parentheses, then I do the exponent first and then I apply the sign. So negative 3 squared is negative 3 times 3, which is negative 9. So that made a big difference when I had a square. For a cube, let's see what happens. A negative 3 cubed is negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. I'm cubing everything inside those parentheses, which gives me negative 27. A negative 3 cubed is negative 3 times 3 times 3, which is also negative 27. So even though those have the same answer, they are different. The intermediate work really does matter, and I will be looking for that on your homework. When you substitute in, a very easy way to remember when you're going to have parentheses and when you're not is if you're putting a number in for a variable, always put parentheses around that number. So for instance, when I have a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, that's not negative 4 squared, it's negative 4 squared. So that negative 4 goes inside parentheses. When you substitute a number in for a variable, put parentheses around that number. So we have negative 4 squared plus 2 times negative 4 times 5, plus 5 squared. First thing I will do is my exponents. Negative 4 squared, that's negative 4 times negative 4, so that's positive 16. And my 5 squared is 25. Then my 2 times negative 4 times 5 is negative 40. Adding everything together, I just get 1. Okay, 4a squared. Again, if you're substituting in place of a, put parentheses where the a was and put the number inside. So it's 4 times negative 4 squared, 4 times 16, or 64. If I have 4a squared, 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. Now I square that negative 16, so I get 256. 4ab. Put parentheses where the a was, put parentheses where the b was, and then put our numbers in. So we have 4 times negative 4 times 5 squared. That square only applies to the 5. It doesn't apply to anything else. So we have 4 times negative 4 times 25, which is negative 400. Similar problem. Put parentheses in place of the variables and then put those numbers inside. So we get negative 80 squared, which is 6,400. So give us negative 4 plus 5 squared, or 1 squared, which is 1, and negative 4 squared plus 5 squared, 16 plus 25, which is 41.